Hey guys, today we are going to go ahead and talk about avatars, bringing it into MotionBuilder, adding in some motion capture, and then bringing that into Unreal and doing some cool stuff. So the first thing we want to do is we want to bring in an avatar that we've already rigged in Mixamo. I really liked John avatar, so I'm going to go ahead and bring that in. Alright, and we have John's avatar. It looks great. First thing I want to do is characterize the hips. So we're going to go ahead and bring that over. And this is a biped because this avatar has two legs. This is going to create a new character, and I'm going to go ahead and rename this because it's going to call everything character and it's going to get confusing. So I'll call this Gas Mask Dude. Great. Now I want to add in some motion capture. I already have a file, so I'm going to go into File, Merge, and we are going to look at some motion capture I did about a year ago, and we're going to do Queen Circle. Great. So I have this file. If I scrub through, we can see some dancing. That all looks good. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to characterize this animation. And that's also a biped. And same thing, because everything gets called character, and I find that confusing. And the actor who performed that motion capture was Robert, so I'm going to call this Robert. So now I'm going to take my gas dude. The input type is going to be character. Our source is going to be Robert. And if I select active, boom, I get our gas mask dude doing the dance. Awesome. That's pretty fun. So to go ahead and finalize this, I'm going to set plot character, and we want to select skeleton, and all of this is fine. And once this is done, we have our character. It is now rigged with our motion capture data. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and save this. And that overrode our previous avatar, now is an avatar with motion capture data. Alright, great. So I'm going to go ahead and close out of that. And I'm going to bring up Epic Games. And today we're going to be in 4.19, although this should work in any version. And what we want to do is we want to bring in our dancing avatar and use the animation editor to do some trimming. We're also going to use level blueprints to play around with playing different animations, having multiple instances of the avatar, and do a very basic introduction into some animation choreography. So I'm going to create a new project. We're going to do a blueprint. I'm going to do a blank project. I don't want starter content because that's an extra gigabyte. I'll call this Dancing Gas Mask Man. And we'll go ahead and create that project. And if you don't have access to motion capture data, you can always just grab some animation from Mixamo, and that will work as well. So we're going to go ahead and import our project, or excuse me, import our avatar. So we're going to import Jonathan. Very important to import the animations. If you don't do that, Jonathan is going to stay in a T-pose, and that will be really boring. So we're going to import the animations. And once this is done, we're going to have a lot of different files. Most of them are going to be materials and textures. And the only one we really care about is going to be the animation sequence. That's going to give us access to the actual animation, and that's what we're going to bring into our world. So we're importing all the different bones that come into the skeleton, all the different meshes, and this can take a little bit of time. Alright, great. So we have this warning. It's not an actual error message, it's just a warning. We don't care. So we're going to close out of that. And like I said, what we really care about is the animation sequence. We're going to have two animation sequences. One is just the T-pose, but we care about the actual movement because that's where we can do all the fun things. So if I go ahead and open this up, I'm going to get the animation editor. So one of the first things I want to do with animation is I want to trim the T-pose and the walking to position and all of that. So let's see where he starts. Right let's see, getting into position, getting ready, and boom. So I'm going to go ahead and remove all of the frames before this point. And what's nice about this animation is that we end in the exact same pose, so now we have a perfect loop. So I'll go ahead and save, and that's all I'm going to do in this window. And if I bring my animation into the space, he's starting in that new frame. And if I go ahead and hit play, and I spin around, and so you know what, I don't really like how that starts. I want to get rid of that false start so we have nice clean data. So let's see, when we were recording this, he's looking at the technician, asking me if he can go. Then he starts, and he goes back, and I think right about here is where I want to stop. There we go. All right, so bring that back a little bit. Perfect. Okay, so we're going to remove that as well. Perfect, that's what I want. All right, so we'll save that. And great. And he's dancing. Perfect. So I do Shift F1 to get my mouse back. All right, so if I go ahead and look at this in my world outliner, it brings up my details panel. A couple key things here. One, it's defaulted to loop, so the animation will by default be looping, and it also starts to playing. So for example, you might want an animation to start paused and then at a certain moment comes to life. So what we can do is we can say, I don't want you to play. So if we go into the world, he's frozen. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to go into our level blueprint. And we don't need any of this. I'm going to make a reference to my animation. So we want to make sure it's selected in the world outliner. And then I can create a reference to my animation. I then want to be able to play the animation. And it's important that you select which animation to play. It won't know automatically, so we want the circle. And then I'm going to trigger this on a key press. So I'll do P for play. So if I type in key P and I scroll up, there we go. All right. So now, every time I hit the key P, it's going to start the animation. I'll give this a level name. So we go ahead and hit play, frozen, and when I hit the P key, he starts. Now every time I hit the P key, he's just going to start from the beginning, which could be fun. But if you want to implement a sort of pause and play function, Unreal Blueprints doesn't have a pause feature. What you can do is you can play with the play rate. So again, looking at the details panel, we have play rate, and play rate is default to 1.0. This is your normal speed. So if this was 0.5, it'd be half speed. If this was 2.0, double speed, 10.0, 10 times the speed. So you have a lot of options there. So what we're going to do is we're going to set the play rate. Take that off. And under animation, we have set play rate. So the target is going to be our animation.
Yeah. Oh, I'll let you go for it.
And we can actually just pull that from here. And the rate will be 0. So this is going to pause our animation. And I'm going to set this to key Y for no real logical reason. So there's key Y. Great, and then if I wanted to unpause, I'm just going to make another one, and I'm going to set the play rate back to 1.0, which, as we saw in the details panel, is our default. And we can pull from here as well, and I'm going to use the key, I don't know, U. That's a good key. And there it is. All right, great. So our animation is going to start not dancing. When we hit the P key, he's going to go ahead and start moving. And then when we hit the Y key, the play rate is going to go to 0, which will effectively pause it. And then when we press the U key, the play rate will go back to 1.0, and this is going to have our animation come back from pause state. So let's give that a shot. All right, so it's paused, we hit P, starts moving, Y, pauses, U, they start going. So pause, go, pause, go, pause, go. And if we hit P, they're just gonna start from the beginning. Again, Shift F1 to get your mouse, and we can go ahead and stop. Now I can also add a bunch of these dancers. I can just put them all in there. Dancers, 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 dancers. Just so many dancers. And I don't really like how they're spaced out, so I'm going to look at this from the top, and let's space them out a little bit. A nice chorus. All right, and there's no real rhyme or reason to this. I just am doing this until I'm happy. And now I'm happy. All right, so I have all of these dancers, and if I go in, there we go. A whole bunch of dancers, except for this guy all the way on the right, because I set the default to not dancing. All right, cool. So what can I do here? I can actually do a lot of things. So if I wanted to implement features for all of them to start and pause, we could go ahead and copy all this and paste it 9 times and make sure we have the reference correct each time. But in all likelihood, I'm probably going to mess that up. So instead of copying and pasting this 9 times, what we want to do is we want a way to collect all of the skeletal mesh actors in the scene. So what we're going to do is we're going to say get actor by class. And get all actors. There we go. And the class we want is we want that skeletal mesh actor. And we can do this right at the beginning, so that's going to be on event begin play. And this is going to give us, what's going to happen here is it's going to go through everything in the world outliner, and every time the type is of skeletal mesh actor, it's going to collect it. And it's going to return all of our skeletal mesh actors. So I want to be able to save this. So the best way to do that is I'm just going to go ahead and make this a variable. And I'll call this like dancing dudes. So now I have a variable. It is an array of all the skeletal mesh actors, and I can then use that to do whatever I want. So what I want to do is I want them to all start at different times. So to start that animation, remember it's play, oops, if I could spell or type, we want to do play animation. There we go. And the animation we want is that circle dance, and we need a target. So we need to get different dancing dudes from our array of dancing dudes. So we're going to use the get function, and that's going to be our target. And we'll set the animation to loop. Now we need to specify which dancing dude we're going to get. If we leave it as is, it's always going to select the first one. Because remember, in computer speak, we always start counting at 0. So 0 means our first dancing dude. And if we look, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 dancing dudes. So I need a way to get randomly one of my 8 dancing dudes. How I can do this is I can say random integer in range. So if I have 8 dancing dudes in computer speak, you would say 0 to 7, and that's equivalent to saying 1 to 8. So this is just going to give me random dudes in the array, and they'll start dancing. And we'll do this, we'll do the P key again. So I'll go ahead and select, and this could be triggered by anything. I'm sure you could think of something more exciting, but I'm just going to use the key press for now. All right. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to set all of my dancing dudes to not be playing. So they're all going to start still. And let's back up a little bit. All right. So if I hit P, one starts, another starts, another starts, another starts, another starts, another starts. And remember, because I'm grabbing random numbers, it can grab the same guy twice. So you'll notice I have few that haven't started dancing yet because it's just randomly grabbing them. And there we go. And now I have all of them dancing, which is very satisfying. We could also do the inverse of this. So we could select them all, have them start playing. And let's get a better angle here. And then I can kind of send them back to the beginning. So start from the beginning, start from the beginning, start from the beginning, start from the beginning.
It actually is like a really elaborate setup, and with the gaffer then
All right,
be bringing a
cool.
team of,
So as I'm sure you can imagine, endless possibilities there. Another thing I wanted to show you guys is how to work with cameras. So I'm going to go ahead and bring in a camera. And what you can do is you can right-click on your camera and select Pilot Camera Actor. And so you can kind of think of this as I am now sitting in the back seat right behind the camera and figuring out exactly how I want to look at the scene. I like it right there. So once you like the scene, you hit this button, and now that's where your camera is. Wherever you piloted it, that's where it's going to put the camera. So if I hit play, I don't see where the camera started. And the reason for that is two things. One, you have something called a player start. So remembering that this is Unreal at the end of the day is a game engine, so this is where you are transported into a world. This is where you would start. I don't care about that, so I'm going to delete it. I also need to do one more thing in my blueprint. I need to set the camera to like my default view. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do set view target. Oh, what is this called? Set target. Oh, take context sensitive off. Set target view with blend. Oh, set view target. Set view target. Oh my goodness. Set view target with blend. Wonderful. There it is. And what I want to say is the new target is going to be a reference to my camera. All right. The old target is going to be something called Get Player Controller. And this is what Unreal is using to establish where you're initially looking at in the world. And we want this to happen on Event Begin Play. Now notice when I bring that over here, it breaks the link. Event Begin Play can only go to one node. So if you need Event Begin Play to trigger multiple nodes, we're going to use something called a sequence. And this sends multiple triggers. Great. So now if I go ahead and play, I'm seeing it from the perspective of my camera. So we have this nice wide shot. Now let's say that we wanted to do a quick cut to and have a nice really zoomed in look. So what we're going to do is taking reference from this camera, we're going to set the relative position, location, there we go. So we need to go ahead and give this a new location. I'm actually going to do set actor.
Cool. Thanks a lot, Matthew. Yep.
Relative location. There we go. And I need a new relative location. So I'm going to go ahead and make a vector, but I don't know which points I want here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this camera, pilot it again. I'm gonna zoom really far in, and let's look right at this dude. Great. And I'm just gonna copy the X, Y, and Z values, because I'm not gonna be able to guess this off the top of my head, so I'll have Unreal do it for me. Great. And then I'm just gonna go back to where I wanted it. Cool. So my camera's back in its original position, and I have new coordinates, and this is gonna allow for this quick zoom. So I'm gonna do a key press again. I'll do it on C for camera. And we'll hit save. So if we go ahead and play, we have that nice zoomed out look, and if I hit the C key, I jump right into that zoomed in look. And Shift F1 to stop. Here's one more look at that blueprint. Alright, so that's all for today. Hope you guys liked it, and there will be more videos soon. Thanks!